Hello, welcome to Future Ready Live, where we talk about topics that will help CPAs, CGMAs, finance and accounting pros prepare for change and transformation. I'm your host, Scott Kellam, Senior Manager, Client Success of the Americas region. I'm filling in for Tom Hood today. And today's session is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about the CGMA designation. I have invited Brian Grzesiuk and Chris Oldrid from Rhode Island Energy to join us and just talk all things CGMA, designation, learning, and such. So real quick though, before Brian Aldridge, I'll let you say hi. I want to just read your bios so the audience knows exactly how you spend your days. Brian, you're a Director of Finance for Rhode Island Energy. You oversee the completion of the O&M capital budgets as part of the consolidated business plan. You are coordinating inputs from all lines of business, as well as working with finance planning to develop key assumptions, financing, and other modeling as required. And Chris, you are a senior finance analyst at Rhode Island Energy as well. You mainly support monthly reporting, revenue forecasting, and industry benchmarking. In addition, also you serve as the jurisdictional workstream lead, coordinating cost-saving initiatives across Rhode Island. So welcome, Brian. Welcome, Chris.
Yep. Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I want to have a chat with you real quick. Just a few questions, and first one being, everyone wants to know what initially draws an individual to the CGMA designation. Brian, what first motivated you, and how do you think that has shaped your leadership approach nowadays?
Yeah, great first question. So a few things about me. First, just a little bit of background on myself, right? Been in finance and accounting my entire career, from various accounting roles to financial planning and analysis roles to finance, budget, and business partnering roles. And before that, I was an undergrad with an accounting degree, and I also have a master's of finance. So I bring that up to respond to your question, Scott, just because, I believe my education and experiences would, in theory, set me up for success, to have a successful career and, really understand finance and be able to contribute and have a meaningful impact on the work that I'm doing in my career, right? And somewhat years ago, I was working in a finance department where I quickly learned that the value of a finance department, what that finance department can do to contribute to a company's success. And, what I learned is that it's just so much more than just reporting numbers, right? So much more than just setting a budget or doing a flux analysis or anything else that you're taught in school or what you would understand, what a finance and accounting professional does. It's really about, incorporating strategy, providing financial support to a company that will allow the leaders to make the best decision for the company, right? So what's interesting about that is that you can't really do that by just providing numbers. So what kind of motivated me was to go out and see if there was something more that I could do, right? And that's really, from my perspective, Scott, is where the value of the CGMA designation comes into play. The program itself, right, not only teaches you what I kind of call like the X's and the O's or the playbook of being a finance and accounting professional, but it also really teaches you how to apply that education and knowledge in order to achieve goals in corporate strategy and ultimately make a meaningful difference through finance, right? So I pursued that just all because of those reasons, right? And over the years, as I kind of moved into the leadership positions, I've just applied that same approach and that same way of thinking, right? Again, it's more than just completing the accounting close each month, right? It's more than just providing an explanation of why you're favorable or unfavorable compared to budget, right? It's about being a true finance business partner that can lead change and help deliver a meaningful goal. And the CGMA, again, really just kind of helped shape me into that employee, that leader in the finance space.
That's incredible. Now, Chris, you work for Brian. I don't know if you're a direct report currently, or at one point, I know that you were, because I think I have the funny story of how you got introduced to the CGMA. But I want to ask you how did the organization support and encourage you to pursue that CGMA pathway?
Yeah, great question. I'm honestly going to take a similar approach to what Brian did and just give you a quick brief on my background. When I first joined the company, it was kind of my first time moving up into a senior analyst role. And the industry I worked for prior was a lot more, cash basis. So I didn't have as much exposure to GAAP accounting, and I had an applied math degree. So when I first joined the company, I kind of had a language barrier. A lot of my coworkers are, speaking accounting speak, and just interpreting the results. Like, as Brian said, it's not just about providing numbers. It's, understanding the background of, how the numbers kind of get to be there and what drives results. So we were on a meeting probably around this time. And I'd say like I was about 6 months into being employed with the company. And I was explaining to Brian, one of our other directors, that, the accounting language barrier was difficult for me. And I was also thinking about, pursuing like a master's in either like business admin, accounting, similar field. And they actually suggested the CGMA program to me. And, you got a front row seat. You were able to help me get enrolled and get up to speed pretty quick. And, from there, it's opened the door for me several times since. I've been able to build my confidence, learn accounting speak, understand drivers of results, deal with stakeholders. It just overall improved my understanding of how all the dots connect in the business world. And it was just super helpful for me. And I'm glad they definitely offered me that opportunity.
Yeah. And for the audience, the funny story was I think you were trying to piecemeal things together on the internet, right? And Brian, I think was like, Chris, what are you doing? And then he was like, why did you just do the CGMA? And you're like, what? And then you dove in, and your journey's been incredible as far as how quickly and engaging it's been. But I do remember that funny intro as to Brian getting you onto the pathway. So another quick question, during the journey, is there anything that, lots of times people wait till the end, or they think they have to wait till the end to share their knowledge or to put it in play. That's not what this program's all about, right? You input as soon as you start learning. So with that said, can you name anything, or is there any sort of business decision or project outcome that was directly influenced by the learning that you have been doing, and you're almost at the tail end now of becoming a CGMA?
Chris, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I would say for me, similar to my last point, as I went through my studies, I was just slowly building a better picture of how the business world operates, and kind of dealing with, different, often like groups that can be siloed in a company, like obviously on the operations end of things, they're not always thinking in terms of finance and vice versa. So I had, around the time I was studying for my management level exam, been offered an opportunity on our transformation management office, coordinating, cost saving initiatives for the company. In going into it, I was kind of under the impression I had to be like a technical subject matter expert. And it actually worked out perfectly. I was just getting into the project management section of the management studies, and it kind of broke down, it's not all about being a technical expert. That's what the project team's for. And it's a lot more important to be able to deal with different groups, manage deadlines, drive results, and, just make sure everything's taken in time and, reporting's being done accurately. So for me, I would say like the journey definitely, it gave me the confidence to step into that role, gave me a better understanding of what the expectations were. And it kind of took some of the load off for me in terms of feeling like I needed to understand each and every detail that, came my way.
Brian, yourself, as far as any sort of strategic thinking, or you had mentioned the business partnering before, but
yeah, even like higher level for me, it's just like that strategic thinking. It almost feels like it's applied almost every day or every month now, right? And you can just help influence a business decision or a project outcome by just applying that strategic thinking, right? So like one example is like, and I think anybody in the corporate finance industry would relate to this, is as you go through the budget and business planning process, the CGMA journey, my journey, has just constantly helped me with that. The example is like, it's just one thing to just collect necessary data, compile it, incorporate it into your budget, your business plan, then report it out, right? But what the CGMA has really helped me to do is just apply that professional skepticism, call it, to like a measurement of performance, in order to be able to analyze the numbers, right? So you just don't take the numbers, call it a day, business plan complete, right? You demonstrate an analysis and you provide the business awareness and planning and executing, right? You challenge the numbers, you tell the story behind the numbers, and then you kind of understand the financial and the non-financial impact of it all, right? And then most importantly, be able to effectively communicate that and make recommendations to execute correctly. And I think that's like, the strategic thinking of it, the CGMA approach of what it teaches you kind of applies to all of that.
That's awesome. Chris isn't the only one involved in the CGMA program right now. You actually have, we use the CGMA learning in our registered apprenticeship program here in the Americas, in the US. And can you talk through how you've seen the development of those three and they're going through it now, right? They're not at the finish line like Chris is, but what that's meant to you and the extra support that we've been able to provide for those folks?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd say like directly and indirectly, it's had a huge impact. The first thing that comes to mind is just, I've seen growth in the team's ability to just, communicate performance, effectively message the implications of financial performance, and be able to just, convey the information that we're looking at in a clear and logical manner, right? And, I currently, I believe we have 3 or 4 individuals that are going through it and or close to completing it. And I think the world of my team, I think that my team and the individuals would be extremely successful no matter what they choose to do in their career. But I think the CGMA, and Chris, I think you'd agree, has helped you progress and develop faster than you could ever imagine by applying all of the strategic learnings and everything that we get from the CGMA. And I couldn't be more proud, as their current line manager on kind of seeing their growth and their development throughout the process.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just to add to that, Brian and I have like a running joke where when I first joined the company, I used to speak in pluses and minuses. And over time that evolved, into debits and credits and accruals, deferrals. And you can just hear in the way we all articulate, me and my colleagues who are about to take their strategic level, just our articulation alone, it's night and day different from when we first started the program.
Yeah, I was going to say, from just the confidence I think that I've seen the team have and the visibility, like being able to see through things and not like be blocked. Can you speak? Was there like any aha moment, Chris, Brian, when you were going through it, or even witnessing the rest of the crew going through it, as to like you were like, wow, this has really provided some great confidence for these folks, not in an arrogant way, just in a way to be able to present to senior leadership or anything along those lines?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just piggyback off of Chris's example of the plus and minuses, right? You fast forward to today, Chris effectively communicates and at times can provide recommendations to stakeholders, talking the talk, and that talk could be, finance and accounting related, and or it could be that he's applying that strategic thinking and talking in a meaningful way to the business, that it's effective in both ways, right? Because there's almost a benefit on both sides. One, we're getting the benefit of being educated and becoming finance professionals. But on the other side, the business is getting the benefit of it as well by getting a more effective business partner, right? And, Chris is a fantastic example about it. So is the rest of the team, of just seeing that growth and that development and us be able to contribute to the company's success.
So something came up this morning, and it just clicked into my mind. So I was on the phone with 2 folks that were just almost the same exact spot, Chris, that you're in, and the one gentleman has a new manager. He's like, Scott, how do I explain the CGMA from a designation standpoint to my manager? And I thought that was a good question. So if you had a new manager roll in and they weren't necessarily familiar with what the CGMA is all about, like in 3 or 4 sentences, what would you tell them? Like, how would you describe it?
Do you want me to take that one first, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say for me, it's almost like an all-encompassing, like, business 101. It's not just about accounting. Like, I think the the accounting piece of the designation can be a little misleading. It's accounting. It's how, accounting relates to reporting, how stakeholders have different interests in the company, and, how they interpret, company value from a different lens. So I would say it's like an all-encompassing 101 from management to strategy to accounting to reporting. It just gives you a full scope of the business world.
And so last question. If you had a buddy sitting across the table for you, or someone was thinking about either doing the CGMA or incorporating it into a registered apprenticeship program, what would you tell your friends that are thinking about it?
What are you waiting for? No, all jokes aside, right? Scott, I know I've known you probably for 5 years now, so you know my background, but I kind of started it on my own with a different company, right? And we brought it over, incorporated into Rhode Island Energy, and now I have my team going through it. And just to piggyback off the last conversation that we just had, right? Every day, every month, I see the progress that is being made. And it's the CGMA that's allowing us and giving us the path that progresses us faster than you might typically if you were trying to do it on your own, right? It's well worth the investment that I'm not sure you could even quantify with how much you get.
That's great. Chris, anything you tell a buddy that was about to enter into the program?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Brian, I would say there's almost no reason not to. If you come from an accounting background, you can kind of still use it to leverage your management skills. If you come from a management background, you can still use it to leverage your strategic skills. It helps you, like you can kind of zoom in and zoom out to any level with the program. So if you really want to understand granular detail, I think the program covers that. And then at the same time, if you want to zoom out and see the big picture, you kind of get a feel for that too. And as you progress through the levels, like I've almost had my workload perfectly tailored to where my studies were. So operational level, I kind of learned, just the talk of the business world and how to interpret results. And that gave me the confidence to speak up in meetings. Then I moved to the management level, kind of got me a little more intuitively understanding of how ideas are generated in a company and, how they translate to all the different stakeholder groups. And then all the way out to strategy, where now you're thinking about, investors, the customer, all like your core stakeholders and how the company signals value to them. So, I mean, I just would argue that it should have value to pretty much any different background, especially someone like me who came out of like a math degree with little to no business exposure.
That's awesome. So you both were generous enough to let everybody know if they have we can only cover so much in these, few minutes, but as far as reaching out on LinkedIn, you both are available to connect and answer any questions that folks might have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Brian Grzesiuk and Christopher Oldrid, if you look them up through on LinkedIn through Rhode Island Energy, you should be able to find them. And guys, I appreciate the time, and everyone that's tuned in right now. Thanks for joining me. Don't miss other Future Ready Live sessions. We're back on LinkedIn. What is it? Every first and third Tuesday of each month at noon Eastern. So we'll see you then. Might not be me, probably Tom Hood or Barry Payne, but I appreciate your time. And again, Brian, Chris, thanks so much. Your insight is invaluable. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, Scott.